morning. I am with Iain Dunvegan, the novelist and author of the Calum Duclos series, of which Scars and Wager are now out. You can see them perched on the cabinet to his shoulder. He's pointing at them just now. For another round of questioning, slightly more in-depth and about the writing process, and to find a little bit out about the man behind the work, as it were. So, if it's okay to jump right in, I'm going to start with the first question, which is the Calum Duclos series is set to a background of police and the intelligence service. Why the romance angle as opposed to focusing on the police angle?
The romance angle came first.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is how I conceived it. No, I had to find a vehicle, and as I've said in another time, another place, there was a way that evolved. But the police, that's the cloud they're perched on, and it went from there. Intelligence, because it needed to be a bit wider, because it's not meant to be a story which is basically police in that sense.
It's deeper than just the police.
Absolutely. There had to be more for them to do, and things that might, say, have been done in the background that I hadn't had to actually put into print. It's just there. Something a little bit more depth about Duclos and Penny.
That's good. So, leading straight on from that, you have a lot of really gritty scenes in your work. Excellent stuff. What draws you to bring in that level of action amongst the love story?
Well, it's like life. And I've made it happen like that for Duclos and Penny. You've been going on, everything's plain sailing, and then suddenly, wham, trouble, problems of some sort. And then you get through that, and it starts again with the nice bits, hopefully. And so that tends to be something that happens, how can I put it? It's not absolutely intentional. It just works out like that. Nice bits where, say, it's just Duclos and Penny in love, suddenly something terrible happens. I don't want to go into any detail because people are going to read the books. That's how it is. And then it's over. In other words, the niceness is interspersed with quite realistic grit.
I suppose just a love story would be kind of long drawn out and quite bland if there wasn't the sort of interspersions of action, which I suppose actually then makes the love story more real. Exactly. Because they've gone through hell, if you'll pardon the term.
They do, at times.
So, you have said before that your style is influenced by the likes, say, of John Buchan. Would you explain in what way? What about Buchan's work in particular draws you in and inspires your work?
Well, look, with Richard Hannay, I can identify with him nicely, or rather how I would like to. Like I would like to be Duclos, you know what I mean? So, it's the fact that he gets involved in things and he works it out to the end. And it's always decent. It's always the bad guy who's he's the nasty one. And Richard Hannay always survives and comes through. That's what I like.
I like
it's
that.
like I'm having to give something away in novel number 3, which is not quite published yet, but it's waiting.
Or a teaser.
Yeah. Penny's younger sister, Catherine, went a talking in the family about Duclos and his intended visit. She says, I know, she said, he's like John Buchan's character, Richard Hannay, an adventurer, but with, and she's a ... more grit.
Yes. No, I like that sort of the archetypal sort of old style action hero where everything can get thrown at them and you expect them to be blown up at the end, but they walk through the cloud of dust.
Yeah.
Yes.
But realistically, that is, I mean, Duclos could be killed. He could die.
Yes, real grit.
Mm.
So, following on from what has inspired you and sort of the hero style that's inspired you, how do you write? I don't mean physically, of course.
If I pick this pen up.
When an idea surfaces the morass of your brain and catches your attention, do you plan? Or do you, as the saying goes, fly by the seat of your pants?
Yes. I don't know the morass of my brain. I mean, it's not that bad. But some people might think so. I have the idea. You see, when I first conceived the idea of Duclos, and then Penny straight away, that was it. And it's like from time to time, a movie plays in my mind, and I see things happening. Basically, what I do is, like a journalist, I report what's happening to them. That is how I write, and even with like with names. How do I get names? They just happen. I mean, just recently, a woman owning a shop, and I just gave her a name. I didn't think about it. I didn't have to think about it. It just was there.
They present fully formed with a name as if you've just been introduced to them in real life.
That's right. Yeah.
I like that. So this actually straight into question 5.
Mm.
You've said previously that your characters are real to you.
Yeah.
Is that how you think of them, as though they are living, breathing actors in a scene that you must write down? They perform for you, perhaps?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. There are various other genres skimming about in my head, but I don't know, it's like kind of been laid on me, or laid it on myself to follow the fortunes of Duclos and Penny. I am writing number 4, and it's taking it even further, but I say nothing else. No.
So, you seem a very creative man. You are surrounded by photographs you've taken. You can see one of them and the hint of another directly behind you here.
Yeah.
And you were a cabinet maker by trade. Has this always been your path, and was writing a natural next step?
No, I wasn't a cabinet maker by trade. I was a teacher and drifted into it. Being at college and being asked to do some teaching as well, and that's what I was doing. And I got to know a guy who worked in the college, and his dad owned a business locally making furniture. And I went out to visit him, got interested, got talking to the guys, and started doing a bit. And in the fullness of time, I thought, why not? So I went self-employed. So yeah, I'm trying to get back to your question. I designed and made furniture, English oak mainly, that kind of weight of furniture. And the way I see it always, if you can create at all, you can create anything in any medium. There's a thing which is an insult, jack of all trades and master of none. Well, to a point, but why not? If somebody can make furniture, draw, paint, take photographs, and everything else, why shouldn't they be able to write or anything else? And I didn't know I was going to be an author. I just began. And it little jottings, that sounds like a railway station, it just developed into a book. Scars, the first one there. And then, because that wasn't telling the whole story, there was much more, excuse me, in their life together, that wager happened. And now the third one, I'm not even giving it a name. I'm waiting for it to be published. I'm waiting for the cover design, actually. No.
And there you go.
So, yeah, creativity.
It's a natural next step, really. And like you say, if you're a master of something, there's nothing more to learn. I prefer the idea that every day's a school day and sort of continuing education for yourself. You learn more about yourself and your style as you write.
I've done all sorts of things.
So, what's your method when you're out and about? If you're out somewhere and you get an idea, do you remember the details or do you have to dive for pen and paper?
Well, I used to dive for with my top pocket, which had this little recording device in it. And I kind of relied on that. But I began to find that my best ideas came when I was out driving and had forgotten to put the little device in my pocket.
That's always the way.
I had to remember. Generally now, I mean, I haven't used that device for ages. Sometimes, I mean, my wife, she said, "What's he doing?" And I seem to be scribbling on the shopping list. And I am. Recently, it's interesting because I mislaid the shopping list, and somebody must have picked it up somewhere, and it was a nice bit of Duclos on it. So perhaps they're trying to find out who I was so they could.
I like that. So basically, one of these a handy shopping list, the back of a cheque, a receipt,
anything,
toilet paper. You're going to grab it and write on it.
Absolutely.
I like that. So you mentioned your wife. I did. You've been married for a number of years, 43 in fact. How much is Marion, your wife, your muse? Has she been a source of inspiration or simply someone to read a chapter to for feedback?
Well, before I get into the absolute detail I want to get into that, I just want to say this, that when I was sort of messing about with Duclos and Penny, I was reading bits out to her and whatnot, and she's got a Kindle and she was downloading bits and pieces, and I was rather critical of a lot of it. And she said one day, I don't know whether it was in pique or whether it was to encourage in a sort of backhanded way, but she said something to the effect of, well, at least they're doing it.
She challenged you.
Oh, right. Yes, so I took it from there. But having said that, my wife is Penny Daybrook. She's got the looks and she has the talents and everything. She's not so good on unarmed combat, but she can learn.
I was going to say, maybe she's not been in a situation where she's had to suddenly do it.
She could have been married to me for 43 years. Yeah.
No, so she's definitely a source of inspiration, a muse, and someone who can critique and to give feedback.
Yes.
And to challenge you.
I was challenged.
And
I took it up.
She threw down the gauntlet
she did,
for real,
yes,
basically.
Yes.
I like that. At least they're doing it. Yes. A loaded response there. So, what is your editing process? Do you edit as you go, or do you wait for the end and then edit? Or a combination of both?
It is a combination of both, but let me start even more basic. When I write in here with a pen, sometimes when I get to the screen to put it in print, as it were, it goes further, deeper. I put it better, sometimes much better, and I do some editing. And when I get to the end of a chapter, one thing I really like to do is to read through my work, because that's where you find a glitch, or you find something that doesn't quite sit right, or you miss a trick or something. And so I like to read it more than once, and I always read it to my wife to see if she approves or whatever.
She'll pick up the glitches as well.
Well, she
And
would certainly
sometimes
do that.
I know from my own work, when you read it, you know what you wrote, and your brain makes you read what you wrote, even though there's half of it missing.
That's why I get a lot of my work returned from the editors, because I just read what was in my mind and I didn't see what was
It's a known phenomena.
Yeah.
So going into my final question, which you've actually already answered, so I'm going to rephrase it ever so slightly.
Okay.
You jumped ahead of me. You have Scars and Wager out, and the third is imminent.
Yeah.
I was
Very
going
imminent.
to ask if this was a true trilogy, and can we expect to see Calum and Penny et al. Again? You've already referred to the fact you're working on book 4,
right.
so we are going to see them again.
Yeah, it is a trilogy in a true sense. Because in Scars, basically, they come together. I give nothing away when I say it all starts with Penny mistakenly arresting Duclos at the scene of a bomb outrage.
That's one way to
And he
meet
plays up to it. He plays up to it, a whining Scot he is. Have to remember, Duclos is half Scottish, as he says, one or two places. He is a product of the old alliance.
Scotland and France.
Yeah, exactly, yes. And each was hoping that if it came to it, they'd join together to knock 7 bells out of England. It never happened, but I did.
And so by that default, Calum Duclos also did, hence a Scottish first name,
So
French
the
surname.
next one carries it on, and Penny has more to do. She is much more on the same plane as Duclos. She is an expert in unarmed combat. Her superintendent in a fort, I think it is she is about as lethal as Duclos is. See, so gentle and lovely. That's partly
But
her
lethal.
problem. She's lovely. But I am doing in Facebook, I'm doing some facts from Scars and Wager to sort of just see what you're missing.
So you're sort of teasing
Yeah.
people
And
giving them some
in
facts.
3, it really sort of hits the top. Certain problems are sorted very violently, and there's quite a lot of violence in this one.
Hence my reference to Grit earlier.
Grit, yeah. But there, I don't want to give anything away, you see, so I'm just going to say that there is something particular that hasn't happened in the trilogy that I want to develop.
So you had to bring in book 4.
Hence number 4. And that isn't all plain sailing and lovey-dovey. There's
That's
some
good.
terrible thing.
More grit.
Absolutely.
More grit and violence.
I like grit.
That's just what I like in amongst my romance interludes of violence.
And the thing is, I like to see the bad guy beaten. I would like to see it in real life. It tends not to happen, but I can make it happen. I can make it happen where I am, and my level,
The
my
power.
play.
The saying goes, the pen is mightier than the sword.
No,
So
absolutely.
you can create all those things.
Yeah.
So that was my final question. It has been very insightful. Thank you very much for giving me your time and talking a little bit more about your work and yourself.
Well, I'm surprised it's gone so quickly. I've enjoyed it.
That's really good. We'll have to do another one and go deeper.
You've been
Go so-
deeper.
Yes, there'll be more questions asked once the next book comes out, and then even
Well, that's
more
true.
to
That's
sort
true.
of drag out. So
Yeah.
once again, that was an interview with Iain Dunvegan, the
That's me.
author of Scars and Wager, which are again right behind, available on Amazon now, or directly through contacting Iain Dunvegan through his Facebook page, which you will find by looking up Iain Dunvegan. Also by a quick Google search for his website, that will come in.
I must just say that Ian is the Scottish spelling. It isn't I-A-N. It's I-A-I-N,
Yes, Ian with 2 eyes, as opposed to a cyclops.
like me. Okay.
So, once again, thank you very much, Iain Dunvegan. I will look forward to reading book 3 when it comes out, and
So
I
do I.
cannot wait for book 4. Thanks once again. Bye for now.
Thank you.